We're always told to just climb the career ladder, right? But what happens when that ladder crumbles right under your feet? Or what if the entire wall it's leaning on just disappears? Well, in today's world, the old rules are completely broken. So today, we're going to explore a much more resilient law to guide your professional life, the law of adaptability. Let's just kick things off with this huge idea from Robert Greene that completely flips the script on typical career advice. This isn't just some nice quote, it's a declaration of independence. It's arguing that our primary loyalty shouldn't be to a company logo or a fancy job title or a quarterly report, but to our own unique purpose. And this way of thinking, it brings us to our first major point. We are smack in the middle of a full-blown crisis of loyalty. That old unwritten contract that used to tie employees to employers for decades, that promise of mutual security, yeah, that's been torn to shreds. I want you to really think about what this means. The whole era of a job for life, where a company looked out for you from the day you were hired to the day you retired, that's a fantasy now. As Greene points out, relying on your current position for security is probably the most fragile strategy you could have. You and you alone have to be the architect and guardian of your own career. So if we're truly on our own, then we need a new law to live by. And that leads us to our second point, the law of constant change. The mantra here is simple and honestly, it's a little brutal. Adapt or suffer. The key insight here is that change isn't just a possibility, it's an absolute guarantee. So your responsibility isn't to fight it or, just wait for it to pass. It's to become a student of it, to actually anticipate the shifts in your field and proactively adapt your skills to meet the future head on. So what does this kind of adaptation actually look like in the real world? Let's take the story of legendary boxing trainer Freddie Roach. His career as a fighter was super promising, but it got cut short by Parkinson's disease. Now, for a lot of people, that would be the end of the story. But Roach, he made this absolutely brilliant pivot. He realized his core passion wasn't just fighting, it was the strategy of competition. By adapting, he found a new, even more powerful way to apply his skills, and he became one of the greatest trainers in history. But what about the exact opposite of a pivot? What happens when we see the change coming and we just refuse to move? This brings us to a huge pitfall, the danger of denial, or what happens when we just choose to ignore reality. The entrepreneur Stephen Bartlett has a great name for this, the ostrich effect. It's that deeply human impulse to ignore a difficult truth, right? We're hoping that if we just don't look at it, it'll magically go away. And let's be honest, we've all been there, avoiding that tough conversation or pretending not to see a problem looming on the horizon. And this isn't just a personal weakness, it's a corporate plague. A study by Leadership IQ found that the top reasons CEOs get fired are perfect symptoms of the ostrich effect: denying reality, completely mismanaging change, and just pure inaction. It's literally leaders with their heads buried in the sand, pretending the storm isn't coming. And this quote from Bartlett just nails it. Avoidance isn't some passive mistake. It is an active choice. When you refuse to accept an uncomfortable truth today, you are consciously choosing an uncomfortable future for yourself tomorrow. All that pain you're avoiding now, it's just gonna come back later, with interest. Okay, so if denial is the trap, how do we get out of it? Well, the solution is to shift our anchor from something external, like a company, to something internal. It's all about finding your true north. This brings us back to Robert Greene's core concept, your life's task. He describes it as this unique seed that was planted in you at birth. I mean, think about it. What were you naturally drawn to as a kid? What subjects just sparked this deep, almost primal curiosity in you? That's your life's task. It's not a job title, it's your internal compass, and your real purpose is to let it guide your work. So this really presents us with two fundamentally different career paths. You've got the fragile path. That's the old model. Loyalty to a company, being tied to one specific position, and being terrified of change. But then there's the resilient path. This is all about committing to your life's task. And when you do that, it makes you flexible. You start looking for change, seeing it not as a threat, but as a new opportunity to express your purpose. What's pretty incredible is that this modern idea of career fluidity isn't new at all. To really master it, we can actually look to some ancient Stoic wisdom about, believe it or not, flowing like a river. Almost 2,000 years ago, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius was writing about the exact same law of constant change. He uses this incredible metaphor of a river and an unending flow. For him, reality itself was just constant motion. Nothing stands still. So how could we possibly expect our careers to? He even takes the metaphor a step further. It's not just a gentle river. Time is a violent stream. The moment something appears, a new technology, a new company, a new job, it's already being swept away. Now, this isn't supposed to be depressing. It's meant to create a sense of urgency. We have to stay present and adaptable because that stream never, ever stops. And it all kind of boils down to this really profound Stoic truth. The universe is change. That's the one thing we absolutely cannot control. But our life, how we experience that change, is opinion or our perception. The choice is totally ours. Do we see change as this destructive force, or do we see it as the very current that gives life its motion and its opportunity? So let's bring this all home. If you want to avoid being an ostrich and start flowing like that river, you have to break your patterns. So I'll leave you with this challenge. What is one small experiment you can run this week to challenge your routine? It doesn't have to be some huge, life-altering thing. The goal is just to practice adaptability, to prove to yourself that you are not fixed in place, but that you are ready to move with the current.